So the Telegraph have gone for it. They report that Manchester United are open to selling Marcus Rashford from this January, and that stance was the same last summer. United are said to be concerned about Rashford's lifestyle off the pitch, and there are fears that he is no longer as focused on his football as he maybe should be. The new man in charge, Ruben Amorim, Ten Hag gone, Amorim comes in. He was asked last week if Rashford can reach the goal-scoring heights that he set previously at United.
We'll try to find the right solution for him as for the other players, but it has to be Marcus first of all to try to return to that moment. And then you will have the help of all the staff with all the club and all the fans, because he's a Manchester United boy, but he has to be the first one to really want it.
So that was Amorim. I think the message is quite clear there, Simon. We understand sources say that Rashford is dealing with a number of off-field distractions that are affecting his performances, whatever they are.
What you mean in the last 2 games when he scored 3 goals?
Remain unknown. But Amorim is saying, though, it's down to him. He's got to show us first and foremost.
Always down to him. I think it's a fishing expedition. I think nobody knows what's going to happen with Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has got a salary. It's at £350,000 a week. There's not many clubs that are going to be able to take him. United aren't going to want to sell him at a discount to be able to subsidise someone else. So it becomes a challenge. Marcus Rashford looks better player in the last 2 games than he's looked for some period of time because he's lively. Let's see if he can continue that. We know that he likes putting up lovely little monikers on his Instagram, telling everyone how much he's enjoying the training. He's a good player, Marcus Rashford. He's not a world-class player, never was, and was built up to a level that I don't think was ever fair on the lad.
Well, he had a world-class season, didn't he?
Yeah,
he had one season where his numbers were
a couple of years ago. He scored 30 goals. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is some going.
And that's some going. But ultimately, over the period of his time, he's been constantly put on this pedestal. And I've constantly said he's not at that level. He's a good player. Now, do I expect Marcus Rashford to be sold by Man United? Do I think that he's one of the candidates to be gotten out the door because he's part of a regime that we have culturally attacked for the last 2 or 3 years because it's been there to attack? Because clearly, evidently, on the pitch, the players haven't got it, haven't responded to it, and they haven't had consequences. The big thing about Man United across the board now is there is a new sheriff in town. There's a memo being passed around. There's consequences. You don't operate commercially very well, you're going to be out the door. You come in as a sporting director, you don't fit in with the ideology, you're out the door. You're a player. You don't play the way. Danny makes this point and made it repeatedly during the course of last season. There doesn't seem to be a consequence to Man United. The players don't track back. They get picked the following week. In this instance, in this environment, Amorim, I think, is going to make people aware that you do as I damn will tell you to do, or you don't play for me. And Marcus Rashford will have that opportunity.
I mean, 3 goals in 5 games, Simon, yes, but he's been dropped for the last 2 starts.
Well, has he been dropped, or are they just rotated around?
He's been rotating.
Yeah, they are then. So, I mean, these rotating...
But he didn't start the game, so.
But it's not necessarily being dropped, is it? It's not being hoiked out of it. The guy's coming into a side, and I think we talked about it earlier on, about how he was going to play a variety of players to see what he's got and see how he's got. What the press are doing is going, Højlund over here, the centre forward he had over at Sporting, he's going to want him. So where's Rashford going to fit in? They're playing a 3. He doesn't. Rashford likes coming off the left. He's not going to be able to play that way if they're playing a 3. So obviously Rashford, because he's a little bit of a jack lad, he was in New York the other day with a hoodie on, must have problems off the field. So obviously Rashford's a candidate out the door. I think it's probably slightly poor reporting in my view. But notwithstanding it, it's the constant narrative that reverberates around Marcus Rashford because he's created some of it himself by walking around like the world's on his shoulders at times.
But some of the Man United fans actually get this. There's one of them there. John, Rashford has never been prolific. He averages 9 league goals a season over his career. His 30-goal season was a glitch.
It's true.
So, in other words, he doesn't deliver on a regular basis, is paid a small fortune and plays for reportedly the biggest club in the world, but ain't delivering. There's a new sheriff in town, Ruben Amorim, and he's watching him.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 sides to look at with Rashford, isn't there? In terms of the obvious one being his inconsistency and lack.
Do you think he should give more, Danny? Do you think we should see more from Rashford on the pitch?
Where did he play that season?
Yes.
When he scored 30 goals in that season,
mainly off the left,
which is his preferred position, isn't it?
Yeah. The ability he's got and the physical attributes he has, yes, I think he's capable of more. I also think, and I can only think back to when I was a footballer, I know he's getting older now, so you have to try and study and make your own decisions yourself, but he's been at a club for a long time where the managers and the managerial team has not been stable, the team's not been great, there's been a lot of change. You need sometimes, what I'm trying to say is, if he was in a better team, a more successful team, and a more stable manager who was more competent than some of the United managers have been, like Solskjaer and Ten Hag, we might have seen a different outcome.
I agree.
He has wonderful attributes, but he doesn't seem when the biggest problem with Marcus when you watch him is the perception. So the aesthetics of him.
Yes.
His facial, he sometimes looks down on himself, slumped. But when you possess such power and pace and athleticism, I'm amazed that even in the last couple of years, whoever's been working there hasn't been doing videos with him, looking and saying, look, have a look yourself. This is what people are looking at.
Yeah.
Yes, you do moments of brilliance. You do things that other players can't do, but this is why people are having a go. You can improve on this. The easiest thing to do is run around more. There's lots of teams above United who have got brilliant forward players who we wouldn't get ahead of at the moment.
It's fascinating to see what's going to happen with him, right? Because the dice, where does he go from Manchester United, right? Because if he can't get himself aroused and focused at Manchester United on his football, and coming out of the Man United front, landing at Tottenham, with due respect to Tottenham, right? How's he going to get motivated to be there? Because he's going to think it's a step down for him.
I don't think it's motivation, Simon. I see a situation more where the pressure's built so much and this negative narratives come around him within a certain section of United fans. Sometimes just taking yourself out of that and going somewhere else and starting afresh and having the lovely
I hear
support.
that. And
if you look at Sancho's body language, the way he's playing for Chelsea at the moment with this directness and
with respect, Chelsea's an elite club. So he's going from an elite environment to another elite environment where there's big bucks being spent left, right and centre. So it's not the same dynamic. I agree with you that I think he's been allowed to develop into a certain rut by certain managers. And, we listened to that rather, what I thought was pitiful podcast that he did, telling us all how woeful his life was at times and how challenging it was. And we've seen observations from his mother about the fact he's picked on in the press and so on and so forth. But Marcus is capable of doing far better than he's doing. Yeah. I think it's down to the manager. I think whatever he does or doesn't do is what he's allowed to do by the manager. And I think this manager will burn him or churn him, right? And he'll get him going or he'll get rid.
I think
I think that's the best way to be, quite frankly.
I still think, and this is probably a damning comment on United. If you look at all their front players and the different options they've got, he's still the best one on his day. He's the most dangerous one. He's the one. If I looked at all their front players and I'm thinking, who can win me a game? Who can score a goal? Who's going to hurt people? Who's got that capability? I'd have him ahead of Garnacho this season. I'd have him ahead of Højlund. I'd have him ahead of Anthony. I'd have who else?
If he exhibits the prerequisite characteristics to be worthy of that.
He's still their best forward, their most dangerous forward to me.
But you could also argue he's still one of the most unproductive.
Well, that's United's biggest problem, isn't it? They don't have.
I mean, you say could he not fit in elsewhere? There's a mention of a Tottenham fan, Simon.
Yeah,
so ask Simon to speak to his mate Levy and tell him to sign Rashford on loan. Then we'll see what he can give us. Get Ange to have a look at him and let's see if he fits for us. Could be a good move for both parties.
So the challenge, I think the die is cast.
He'd do well there.
I think the die is cast. I think that I felt for some time that his race is run.
It's over.
I think his race is run. I think once you get stuck in a certain gear, it's very difficult to get out of it. Now, culturally, Amorim might have the strength of character, might motivate him, might inspire him. But this is a young boy that's been at United for 7 years now. He's no longer even talked about, really, as far as England are concerned. So once upon a time, Rashford was part of the squad, had to be part of Rashford, had to be part. Now he's not even mooted, and no one expresses surprise. Manchester United's one of Man United's top strikers doesn't get anywhere near the England squad these days. If he goes to places like Tottenham, when I look at Tottenham's signing policy, and whilst people say I defend Daniel, I can't understand the Timo Werner signing. I think that to me tells you where Tottenham are at times.
Yes.
But he's not going to go to Tottenham Hotspur. He'll go to PSG or somewhere like that.
Yeah, the wages are too big for Tottenham.
Daniel's not going to pay him 360 grand a week.
I've got to say, fans of other clubs, Simon, are saying, yeah, we'll take him. And some of those fans are Arsenal fans. He would score 20 a season off the left for us.
You know what?
Rashford to Arsenal.
You know what? When you never know, do you, for sure? But playing in a team that's so settled and so confident and competent, there is a case that his end product would get much better because Arsenal are really dominant in games. And you could argue Martinelli's been a bit hot and cold. There will be people who take Rashford over Martinelli.
Well, actually, Arsenal fan is saying Arteta would transform him.
Well, he hasn't done that with Sterling, has he?
True.
I mean, they're different characters.
He sadly started him.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Simon. I think it's up to Rashford, and I think Amorim. It's like either you do it or you don't.
Do you know, the biggest thing with Rashford...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's not as if he's some young kid.
The biggest frustration is when you see somebody as a footballer who's got so many wonderful attributes, who can hurt people and scare people and go past people and shoot like he can, whip free kicks in. He's got so much in his armoury. And then you don't see it often enough. It's frustrating, especially if you're a United fan.
Yeah.
And even as a pundit, I mean, I know you can have bad spells. I've been through them. I just see this wonderful talent who's not really hitting the levels he's capable of, and that's frustrating.
Sure. So what is the missing link with Marcus Rashford? And can Ruben Amorim solve this riddle, if you like? The report in the Telegraph is that United are open to selling Rashford from this January, and that stance was the same last summer. United fans, would you be happy to see him go? Or do you think, no, give him time and he'll show what he can do for Amorim and United? 03717 223344.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.